He lived in a small, cold room on the edge of the city. A broken table, old chairs, newspapers on the floor, that was his world. Yet here he painted every day, spending his last coins on brushes and colors, sometimes skipping meals just to keep creating. Gallery owners refused him, too strange. Nobody will buy this. On the streets, people glanced at his work and walked away. Pity. Mockery. Silence. Many nights he thought of giving up. But each time, the canvas pulled him back. Because only there, brush in hand, he felt truly alive. And then, when he had almost surrendered to despair, a stranger entered his studio, stopped before a painting, and could not look away. That moment changed everything. Born into modest circumstances, he discovered art at a young age. While others saw painting as a hobby, he saw it as the very reason to breathe. Yet passion alone was not enough. He struggled to afford canvases and brushes. He rented small rooms, often too cold in winter, and sometimes he even burned his unfinished paintings just to stay warm. His neighbors thought he was eccentric. His peers thought he was foolish. When he submitted his works to galleries, curators laughed. One dismissed his brushstrokes as childish scribbles. Another told him bluntly, "This will never sell, people don't want chaos on their walls." And still, he painted. He painted not for money, not for fame, but because he had no other choice. Art was not what he did, it was who he was. But the loneliness was crushing. Imagine dedicating years to something you believe in, only to watch the world turn its back on you. He often questioned himself, am I truly an artist, or just a fool with a brush? Little did he know, those foolish strokes of paint would later define the future of contemporary art. Sometimes, the greatest changes begin with the smallest spark. One evening, a minor exhibition gave him a corner wall to display just a few paintings. Most visitors walked past, uninterested. But one man stopped, a critic. Unlike the others, he didn't laugh. He didn't dismiss. He stared. Something in those colors, in those broken shapes, in that storm of emotion spoke to him. The critic wrote an article, just a few pages in a local paper. But words have power. He called the painter, a visionary misunderstood in his own time. He described the works as raw, unsettling, yet honest in a way that polite art could never be. That article traveled farther than expected. Slowly, whispers spread among collectors, who is this strange painter? Why is everyone suddenly talking about him? And so, after years of silence, a door creaked open. His paintings, once unwanted, now began to spark curiosity. What started as curiosity grew into obsession. His paintings began appearing in prestigious galleries. Collectors competed to own even the smallest sketch. Auction houses that once ignored his name now hosted record-breaking sales. Paintings that had once been worthless now sold for amounts beyond imagination. Crowds gathered around his work, not with mockery, but with awe. Journalists praised his genius. Critics who once laughed at him now rewrote their opinions, pretending they had seen his brilliance all along. The irony was painful. The same world that once rejected him now worshipped him. His art became a status symbol, a ticket into the elite world of contemporary culture. And yet, behind the fame, the artist remained the same man who once painted alone in silence. The difference was not him, it was the world finally deciding to open its eyes. But was it really about the money? Or was there something deeper? Yes, his work sold for millions. Yes, his name entered history books. But what truly mattered was the influence he left behind. His bold strokes inspired new generations of painters to break rules. He gave permission to create fearlessly, to paint emotions instead of perfection. His art reminded the world that beauty is not always neat, not always calm. Sometimes, beauty is chaos. Sometimes, truth is uncomfortable. Today, his works hang in the world's greatest museums, Tourists travel thousands of miles to stand in front of canvases that were once ignored. Children look at them with wide eyes, not knowing the years of rejection behind each masterpiece. From forgotten, to rejected, to immortalized. His story is not just about art, it is about life. How often do we give up because no one notices? How often do we silence ourselves because the world tells us we're not good enough? The painter whose art nobody bought reminds us that recognition does not define worth. Sometimes, the world simply isn't ready for what you have to give. So paint. Write. Build. Dream. Even if no one is watching. Because one day, the world might finally understand. And when it does, your masterpiece will no longer be ignored.